Hey, like, share, and subscribe. Now we got to talk about this. So, the Raw Underground, the Fight Club that takes place in some back room in the Performance Center, featuring some WWE talent. It looks like to be some preliminary guys, some jobbers they picked up off the streets, just crash dummies to throw around, and it looked pretty cool. It got better as the night went on. It was smoky, dark. Had some had a nice Fight Club feel to it, except for they weren't fighting on like the concrete floor. They were wearing gloves. People were wearing like street pants and stuff like that. So it didn't give you the full MMA sort of feel because it wasn't meant to be mixed martial arts. It's kind of, but it had people in there doing tough guy stuff. It's essentially tough guy stuff. It was like a kumite. They had dancing girls, and it was pretty cool. Like I dug how it ended. That's why I sound like I'm so excited because I love how it ended. Like the whole thing with MVP and Lashley and Shelton Benjamin just taking over the Fight Club was pretty fucking dope. But let's get into some of the criticisms that I saw. Well, most of the criticisms is people saying, the number one criticism, and I think it's legit. That's why I'm going to mention it number one, is that it's so different from the rest of Raw that it feels like it's two separate programs. That's a legit complaint. If people say like, that's one of the major problems with doing cinematic things and doing things on different locations. It almost feels like it's two different shows, and part of that is what the problem was here. Another problem is a lot of people were led to believe, or at least had the idea, that Raw Underground was going to start at 10, and then it was going to be the last episode or the last hour of Raw was just going to be Raw Underground. That was, of course, headcanon. People just jumping to conclusions. That's like everybody thinking that this is worked MMA is jumping to conclusions. No one ever said that. No one ever said it was worked MMA. It's just no rules fighting. That's essentially what it was. And you get to see wrestlers do cool stuff like, really hard power bombs, and they were just beating up jobbers essentially. Dolph Ziggler was in there using his shoot background. Eric from the Viking Raiders is in there power bombing dudes like really, really hard and suplexing dudes really hard. And they got to show off some new talent, some guys that what was his name? Dabadoo or some shit, some big dude with dreadlocks. And he got to show out a little bit. The fights were not that long. The fights were like 20 seconds. So people who were complaining that it was the worst shit I've ever seen, like, dude, come on. You've been watching wrestling a week. It's not even the worst shit that happened that night. So it's not even the worst shit that happened on this episode of Raw. So a lot of people are just, they just doing what, it's WWE. So anti-WWE people, it didn't matter what the hell they was going to try to do. There's going to be people who hate on it. But I really loved it, and I think it fits to a degree. It fits the guys that are going to be involved in it, as far as what we know right now. Like the Hurt Business have taken over the Fight Club, as far as we know. They beating up everybody. They taking over. It fits them perfectly. Why? Why does it fit the Hurt Business perfectly? Not only because it's like some shit out of a Michael Jai White movie, and it is a Michael Jai White movie, a legit one that I'm trying to remember. I think it's Blood and Bone, where he went to this underground fight club and he kind of took over. Not even take over. He just kind of wanted to avenge a friend or something like that. So he kind of went into this fight club and he went beating people up, and that fits what MVP and all these guys have been doing for a while now. But it kind of fits their aesthetic. The Hurt Business kind of fits their aesthetic, but it also fits them personally because Lashley is a legit MMA fighter. MVP does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He actually competed in some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments. And Shelton Benjamin is a legit wrestler. He's a shooter. He's got a legit shooting background, just like Dolph. So you got opportunity for guys who are shooters to get in there and do some shoot shit. So maybe we might see Chad Gable in there one day. There's already people talking, oh, Matt Riddle needs to get in there and Brock needs to get in there. And that's the excitement that, the correct response, as far as I'm concerned, is people who felt like, oh, we should just get more guys in there to show off, some of their shoot background. And that's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. That's the good reaction. That's healthy. The non-healthy reactions is the people who are just like, well, this is just a ripoff of Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. Like he originated it or something. He didn't originate worked MMA. He didn't originate that shit. That shit was going on before him. But it also, they never said it was MMA. It was never even presented as MMA. It was presented as a no rules, almost bare knuckle type of fight scene. And It's similar to Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. If you don't know what Josh Barnett's Bloodsport is Josh Barnett was a former MMA fighter who dabbles in sort of pro wrestling. He started his own promotion called Bloodsport. It's called Josh Barnett's Bloodsport to separate it from the movie Bloodsport. But it's kind of based on the movie Bloodsport a little bit, where it's kind of a bare knuckle, not bare knuckle, but it's tape fist, worked MMA style matches, where it's very physical. It's good stuff, it's really good stuff. But what WWE is doing is not the same. As far as these guys are not, there's no submissions. I haven't seen anybody, well, I think Dolph maybe won his little fight by submission. But most of the fights were just kind of like jobbers getting thrown around. And then somebody pulled him outside the ring to save his life or something like that. So it's not like maybe they'll have a match. And at the end of this, I will assume that they're going to have a match. A real wrestling match in this Fight Club. But, a lot of people were caping for Josh Barnett, like his idea has gotten stolen, when in reality it's kind of a thing that's always had happened. Like there's always been fight clubs and different things like that. It's not really that much of a surprise. They used Shane McMahon to do it, so it kind of got people to really pay attention to it because Shane McMahon was going to be involved with it. So I'm guessing Shane McMahon is always going to be involved with this little fight club, even though MVP said he's taking over. So that ought to be interesting to see where we go from here. Now we get to the absurd aspect of the criticisms. One of the the most absurd criticism, is of the dancing girls. I saw WWE artist Rob Schamberger. He was the number one that I noticed. So many people, so many simps. I can't believe we're going to have dancing girls in 2020. I'm so over the dancing girls. Why do we have dancing girls? Like, it's 3 girls in like lace with like high boots. They weren't like in thongs and shit. It wasn't like Shotgun Saturday Night was worse than that, But the crazy thing is, I don't remember anybody saying anything when Sonny Kiss and all his cheerleaders was out there, twerking and all that bullshit. Nobody says anything. Nobody says anything when Kofi and Big E are out there gyrating and shit. Nobody says nothing. You're not allowed to say anything about that. You're supposed to just accept that and shut the fuck up. But if you want to try to, assert some type of fucking heterosexuality in this goddamn business, all of a sudden everybody wants to act a fucking fool. Fuck off, you losers. You fucking virgins. She's not going to fuck you because you're upset about dancing girls on fucking Monday Night Raw. She's not going to touch your pee-pee. Okay? You're a fucking loser. That's the weirdest thing to complain about. Now, a good thing to complain about, which is a thing that I ended up complaining about a little bit later, is the camera cuts. I absolutely fucking... WWE's period. Their cameras, all the editing, all the back and forth, the cuts, that shit is so annoying. That shit is super annoying. And it was really bad as far as the Raw Underground thing. And it kind of ruined it in some of the earlier shots of it. But as it went on later, it kind of... I guess you kind of get used to it because it's so bad. But it was pretty smooth. Like the Dolph situation was pretty fucking smooth. And I enjoyed it. NXT got their fight pit. Raw has the Underground Fight Club. SmackDown, we waiting, dog. We waiting to see what kind of fight club you put out on SmackDown. But I said I was going to suggest a match, and I think this match is going to happen. Since MVP has taken over the Underground Fight Club, or Raw Underground, since he's taken over, I think that's where they're going to have the MVP Apollo Crews match for SummerSlam. They're going to have a theatric United States Championship match with Apollo Crews versus MVP in this underground fight scene. And probably that's when you're going to have Apollo Crews lose the title. And that ought to be fucking fun. And it ought to be fucking cool. And it ought to be something that people really get behind because, 1, it's going to be different. 2, it involves people that you claim that you want to see to get over. So you want to see people do different things. Everybody clamors for different. And then when they do something different, people bitch about it. They bitch about it fucking immediately. People was bitching about it before they even knew what happened. There was people who didn't even watch the show who were bitching about it. People who were like, I didn't know what happened. I just heard about it and didn't like it. It's really bizarre. And there's a lot of headcanon going on with a lot of people complaining about shit that didn't happen. People, fucking Justin LeBar talking about, you can't have fake shoot fights. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Nobody said anything about fake shoot fights. They didn't say anything about that. Nobody said anything about fake shoot fights. All they said was, anything goes here in Raw Underground. There's guys in the middle of the ring fighting. That's really what it is. You know, nobody ever said this is going to be our mixed martial arts thing. No, if there was people talking about it's going to be like Brawl for All, it's like a Brawl for All tournament. I'm like, nobody said anything about that. Nobody said anything about Brawl for All. Nobody said shit about MMA or fake Pride or fake UFC. Nobody said shit about none of that. That is all headcanon. If you're going to criticize some shit, criticize it for what it is and not for what you want it to be or just want to be snarky online. That's the stupidest shit in the world. If you're going to complain about for what it is. Like, at least the motherfuckers who are complaining about the dancing girls, at least they actually saw dancing girls. At least somebody said something about dancing girls. These motherfuckers are mad about some shit that nobody said. Nobody said anything about this being a shoot fight. Nobody said anything about that. Nobody said anything about that. It might just be a place for guys to blow off some steam where there's, you know, they can fight with no rules, unlike the WWE part of the show where there's rules and, you know, regulations and referees and stuff. You know, that might be it. You know, that might be the major difference. That it's still wrestling. It's just wrestling without rules, you know? But we didn't even get that far before people were complaining. Now, I do have some complaints about the work because the work, you know, for starters, I kind of figured out what they were doing when Shane was stopping the fights like super fast. Like he was stopping the fights like really fast. So that was kind of he's the worst ref ever. You know, if he's saving guys' lives in there. But whatever, you know, it was fun. The first edition of this is fun. Could it go downhill from here? Yes, it could always get worse. But I love this shit. You know, this shit was pretty cool. You know, it's different. It's at 10 o'clock, so apparently they figured out that most of their audience drops off at 10 o'clock because that's really what you see as far as the ratings are concerned. That, you know, the 9 o'clock hour or the 8 o'clock hour and the 9 o'clock hour are fine, but the 10 o'clock hour things began to droop, and so they tried to do something in the 10 o'clock hour to boost it back up to make it feel different from the rest of the show, and people complained. You know, now we'll see in the ratings when the ratings come out if it actually worked. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I don't care either way. I enjoyed it. So that's really all that matters to me is, did I enjoy the segment? And I did. I had fun with it. You know, I didn't really think about it too critically. I didn't overthink it because I kind of figured they were building to something. If you weren't going to show it throughout the night, if it wasn't going to be from 10 o'clock to 11, this Raw Underground, they were building to some type of angle. And I thought that the new faction that they promised were going to come out of this, and maybe the new faction are not going to come out of it. Maybe they are. Who knows? But, you know, they planted a lot of seeds with this thing, and it's pretty interesting. And it could be something different for a lot of guys who aren't doing anything right now, like Dolph, like the Viking Raiders, like some other people who are in the performance and are not doing anything. It could be a good showcase for them. It could be pretty cool. You know, let it ride, let it grow, let it see where it goes. You know, throw everything at the fucking wall, man. You're on TV 52 weeks a year. There's only so much shit you can do in a ring. You know, let's go outside the ring. You know, let's do different shit. Let's go ahead. Let's do it, man. You know, fuck. You know, why hate it? Let me know what you guys think about the Raw Underground in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later.